Hi, my name is Ryan Myers. Thank you for taking a moment to hear about our work on our intranasal cooler for encephalopathy prevention in combat casualties, or as we like to call it, ICEPICC, a device under development by the company that I work for, Vivonics, for the U.S. Marine Corps. Vivonics is a small business located just outside of Boston, Massachusetts. We focus on pushing clinical solutions outside of the clinic to provide physiological monitoring, advanced diagnostics, and decision support in areas and in situations where it is desperately needed. Areas and situations routinely experienced by our armed forces. This mission of ours is the drive behind ICEPICC. While the name ICEPICC is an excellent visual, it is also an apt name for this life-saving device. Seeing the value in developing tools to cool the brain as early as possible, a number of different approaches have been pursued by commercial, military, and academic entities. Unfortunately, these approaches are very civilian hospital focused and lack the flexibility to be brought into civilian EMS, let alone into a military environment. ICEPICC has been designed especially for these non-hospital scenarios, taking lessons from these other approaches to deliver an effective and easy-to-use solution for just such an environment. Cooling the brain shortly after a traumatic brain injury can minimize swelling and avoid secondary brain damage that can be as fatal as the initial traumatic event itself. Unfortunately, current methods of intranasal cooling are not adequate for early intervention in military or civilian environments. As you may well know, if you've ever knocked your knee on the coffee table or turned an ankle playing basketball, icing as early as possible is the only way to prevent swelling from occurring. ICEPICC provides a minimally invasive approach to continuously cool the brain in much the same way. The system is highly portable and simple to use for the fastest possible intervention, making it a highly valuable tool to manage traumatic brain injury as well as other common events that negatively impact brain health, like stroke and cardiac arrest. ICEPICC applies chilled, normal air into the nasal cavity using a simple centrifugal blower to move the air and a solid-state thermoelectric cooler to chill the moving air. This patented approach has allowed us to downsize the system into a portable form factor that lasts over 6 hours on one charge during transportation and can be plugged into a standard wall or generator outlet once at a stable role of care. As you can see here, the cold air is sent from the box through a nasal cannula that guides the air to the appropriate part of the nasal cavity. Currently used for nasal intubation by the military, these nasal cannulas will require limited to no additional training to implement within the DoD. The delivered cold air cools the back of the nasal cavity through convective cooling and then relies on conductive cooling through the sinuses as well as convective cooling through flowing blood to the brain, delivering targeted temperature management of the brain itself. Over the past 2 years, Vivonics has been pursuing the studies required to move ICEPICC along a steady TRL pathway towards FDA de novo submission. During our previous meeting with the FDA, they suggested that if the animal studies showed that ICEPICC was both safe and effective, we should proceed to a pilot study in an injured human population. While we are planning to meet again with the FDA to confirm this next step, we are planning these human studies with our clinical collaborators, and we are applying for additional funding to execute these studies. In being able to jump from this animal study to a pilot study in humans, this path will allow us to get ICEPICC to those in need as efficiently as possible. This path is viable thanks to the wonderful preclinical results we've had to date. During device optimization and testing in our Phase 2 SBIR, we conducted animal studies to understand the safety and effectiveness of ICEPICC in a porcine model. Our team maintained cooling for over 4 hours with an average of 2.6 degrees C or around 4.7 degrees F drop in brain temperature while maintaining normal temperature in the rest of the body. That last part is incredibly important, since current means of reducing brain temperature in a hospital setting are not targeted to the brain and lead to incredible shivering with only a few degrees drop in temperature, leading to difficulties in treating the patient and damage to the rest of the body. Further, cooling of 1.4 degrees C, which would correlate to a reduction of a fever of 101 back to normal, was achieved within just 14 minutes during these experiments. Finally, there was no serious damage experienced by the nasal cavity of the animals, and activity was observed to be routine in the 3 days following cooling. These studies lead us to believe that ICEPICC brain cooling is safe and effective in a healthy porcine model. The ICEPICC device is ideally suited for a military environment, holding multiple advantages over other devices in this space. Namely, the low size, weight, and power, ruggedized design will be litter mountable and airworthy. Further, the system uses normal air content instead of including liquids or evaporative cooling chemicals, which can be problematic for various reasons. Finally, the compact design leverages military-approved batteries to power 2 moving parts, making the system adaptable and reliable. We believe, and the data supports, that ICEPICC can be a solution to an immediate and unmet need in traumatic brain injury treatment at point of injury Role 1 care. Not only will this device save lives on the battlefield, but the need is mirrored in the civilian American population, as well as developed and underdeveloped nations around the world. Our existing engineering team and clinical advisors are working diligently to bring this device to market as efficiently and as responsibly as possible. Work that has been supported by the FDA during their evaluations of our proposed pathway. In the U.S. alone, there are over 1.7 million traumatic brain injuries annually, over 15% of which are considered severe. While we believe that ICEPICC or versions of the ICEPICC system can help all 1.7 million individuals, this initial version of ICEPICC has been designed especially for those experiencing a severe case of traumatic brain injury, where a lack of oxygen supply, increased inflammation and intracranial pressure, and increased heating occurs unabated within the first hour following injury. Unfortunately, this population receives targeted temperature management or invasive interventions only after swelling has set in. While the analogy of turning your ankle playing basketball or hitting your knee on a coffee table is a fun way to recall your leg ballooning fairly quickly, not immediately rebounding to a normal size, even with intervention, it also allows us to imagine the more unfortunate realities following a traumatic brain injury. Simply put, the same thing occurs in your head as your leg, but there is nowhere for the swelling to go. Similarly, if we get an ice pack on it as soon as possible, we can prevent swelling before it happens in your leg. As mentioned before, the ICEPICC system is highly portable and simple to use for the fastest possible intervention, making it a highly valuable tool to manage traumatic brain injury as well as other common events that negatively impact brain health. There is currently no effective solution to treat traumatic brain injury on the front line. We believe that ICEPICC is the answer to that void and are looking for transition partners throughout the military to help fund development through the FDA and field the device once through the FDA. The novelty of the device, however, will require additional funds to get through a pivotal trial, which will be led by our partners at the University of Maryland Shock Trauma Center and the University of Texas at Houston, in addition to other sites. Please do not hesitate to reach out to us if you'd like to be involved in the project, or if you'd like to discuss funding transition opportunities that can help de-risk ICEPICC's development pathway. My name is Ryan Myers, and my direct email and office number are listed here alongside my colleague Christian Damadio's information. Thank you for your time. Please stop by our booth and enjoy the rest of the conference.